Telemarketers suck, right? We've all hung up on them thinking, oh, they're the worst. But have you ever wondered how telemarketing's become such a mess? What if I told you they're not the real villains? My name is Josh Zabak, and in this explosive documentary, we're diving into the wild history of telemarketing, from door-to-door hustlers to India's call centers, and the chaos they've unleashed on the home improvement industry. We'll uncover how corporate greed has turned telemarketers into scapegoats, and how Angie is crushing small contractors. This is the first episode of Behind the Sale, a series exposing the hidden forces behind sales and marketing. Ever been scammed by endless home improvement calls? Drop a comment below. We're unpacking why that happened. Stick around. This is going to blow your mind. Picture this. It's the late 1800s and you wanted to sell something. You were pounding the pavement, going door to door, hustling, selling brushes, pots, pans, even encyclopedias. Sales was pure face-to-face hustle. Think Glengarry Glen Ross or Tin Man, except with horse-drawn carts. Newspaper boys shouted headlines on the corners. But if you were in a desolate part of Iowa, good luck reaching customers as a paperboy. Then in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell changed everything with the invention of the telephone. Suddenly, you could pitch somebody miles away from your home. Legend has it housewives started using these clunky phones to sell baked goods to neighbors. It's a charming tale with no real hard proof, just American ingenuity at work. By 1903, businesses caught on. A dry goods store started calling locals to push sales. Telemarketing was born, but not in a corporate boardroom, but from everyday folks hustling smarter. Imagine pitching cookies over a crackly phone line. That's American hustle, baby. Fast forward to the 1970s. Telemarketing goes from mom and pop to rock star status. Why? Technology and hustle. Wide area telephone system, also Watts, made long distance calls dirt cheap. Toll-free numbers let customers call back for free. Companies could now pitch to anyone, anywhere, without breaking the bank. This is when home improvement sales got wild. Companies pushed aluminum siding, windows, doors like they were selling hot concert tickets. High-pressure sales ruled, fast-talking sales reps with limited-time deals to close you on the spot. My dad got his start at Sears and Roebuck, a retail giant that sold everything, even houses, through catalogs from 1908 to the 1940s. The 1973 and 1979 oil crisis made energy-efficient windows a hot sell, and lax regulations let companies thrive. They jumped into telemarketing with predictive dialers, auto-calling machines that blasted through lists of phone numbers quicker than the human could dial. Until the 1991 Telephone Consumer Protection Act, TCPA, that started tightening things up pretty quickly. Telemarketing wasn't just home improvement, though. It sold timeshares, insurance, even magazines. The 70s made it a powerhouse, but trouble was brewing. Here's where the story takes a dark turn. In 1994, American Express saw a gold mine. India. They opened their first call center in Gurgaon with Tata Telecom. Why India? Cheap labor. $5,000 per agent instead of $40,000 in America. Millions of English speakers, and a time zone perfect for calling Americans at dinner time. It was a corporate no-brainer. By 1998, Pramod Basin launched an independent call center with just 18 employees, using Saris as dividers. That sparked a revolution. Dell, IBM, and GE piled in. By the 2000s, India was the call capital center of the world, with 350,000 workers by 2015. Home improvement companies used these centers for lead generation, setting appointments for windows, doors, roofing. But there was a catch. These call centers didn't always follow the rules in the US, like the 1991 Telephone Consumer Protection Act. They could call anyone at any time and cut corners to maximize profits. Estimates say the US lost upwards of 660,000 telemarketing jobs to outsourcing, gutting local economies. Then came the 2003 National Do Not Call list, which was said to have crushed legitimate telemarketing by letting 60 million Americans opt out. I don't think the regulation was that bad myself. The problem was India's call center outside the US jurisdiction simply ignored it. By 2005, some overseas call centers, especially small ones, rogue in India, pivoted to outright scams, using predictive dialers from the 70s, playbooks to push fake tech support, IRS impersonation, or lottery fraud. Experts estimate 50 to 500 call centers turned to scams by 2010, costing Americans billions annually by them using VoIP services and caller ID spoofing, allowing their numbers to appear as if they're local callers. Others switched to low-cost lead generation for home improvement companies and other industries alike, selling them as exclusive leads to that company. But nothing was ever exclusive, and they were sold to multiple companies. Calling one frustrated customer, the contractors get ripped off, the customer gets fed up, but the call centers make out like bandits. India's takeover saved corporate companies billions, but it unleashed scams and lead generation chaos throughout several industries. It hit the home improvement industry really hard. Let's see how. Back in the 70s, home improvement companies had their own telemarketing teams. They had their own roofers and window installers. They called you directly, locally, pitching deals, selling. But that took skilled people. That required training, and training takes time. So many went with a churn and burn operation. Hire anyone, hand them a script, and fire them if they don't hit quotas. It was messy and it worked for some until outsourcing hit. By the 2000s, most companies had ditched their own in-house teams for cheap overseas call centers, especially in India. These companies generated low-cost leads, but here's the scam. They sold them to multiple contractors, but sold them as exclusive leads, each one costing the contractor a premium. Think in excess of $100 just for a name and a phone number and a shot of somebody that might be interested. Now the consumer simply asks for a roof quote, and 10 companies spam your phone. They all think they've got an exclusive shot. This forces contractors into high-pressure sales to close deals fast and take that consumer out of the market, or low-cost bids to undercut the rivals. Both unsustainable, not just for the companies, but for the customers alike, bleeding small businesses dry. I grew up in this industry. My dad always taught me to respect the telemarketers. They're grinding so they can get leads simply for a sales rep to have an opportunity to make a living and to eat. This outsourced lead mess, fueled by India's rogue centers and their technology with VoIP spam calling, it pollutes the market and it drives chaos, and we blame it on the telemarketers. It's chaos out there, and the telemarketers aren't to blame. Let's talk about who's really the villain. Why do we hate telemarketers? Movies, TVs, scam calls, all paint them as heartless robots. But HBO's show Telemarketers shows the truth. Most people are just trapped in a broken system, following scripts from the profit-hungry companies. I saw this firsthand. Marketing and sales need each other to coexist. My dad's company always had a successful telemarketing department. He always taught me it's about connecting with people and not scamming them. Not all telemarketers are scammers. The 2003 National Do Not Call list made things tougher. My dad saw it as a win. He said if somebody's on the list, they're not interested. We're focusing on the people that might want to talk to us. He was right. Telemarketing got smarter, not dead. The real villains are the companies outsourcing overseas that dodged the US laws, running outright scams like fake IRS call centers, churning out the non-exclusive leads that force high-pressure sales. Ethical American telemarketers are caught in the crossfire, doing honest work but getting hung up on like they're scammers. Don't blame the person on the phone. Blame the system. Here's the deal. As with any company, you have good and bad, and good American telemarketing companies play by the rules. They follow the TCPA. They respect the Do Not Call. They follow the 10 DLC, and they deliver better services. I mean, let's be honest, you'd rather talk to somebody who gets you right. Supporting them keeps jobs in the US, boosts local economies, and fights scams. In 2023, over 2 million telemarketing jobs were outsourced, costing families their livelihoods. I learned from my dad to value telemarketers. They're the backbones of sales, grinding through hangups to deliver leads. By choosing companies that have US-based call centers, you help break the cycle of scams and abuse. Ethical telemarketers aren't scammers. They're hustlers, just like you and me. Everybody's hustling, trying to make their ends meet. Let's fix this by supporting American jobs. If you're sick of spam calls, support American telemarketers. Now the real issue. Angie. It started as Service Magic. It became Home Advisor. It merged with Angie's List in 2017 and then rebranded as Angie. And since then, it's changed hands very recently. Sell the same leads to multiple contractors. The FTC fined them $7.2 million in 2023 for lying about lead quality, leaving small contractors broke and forcing aggressive sales or cheap labor to survive.
Allegedly.
Angie's rigging the game. Homeowners and contractors are paying the price. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive deeper into this lead gen nightmare. Hopefully I don't get sued. That's the untold story of telemarketing, from American hustle to Angie problems. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button, hit the bell and comment. Have you been spammed by a telemarketer? Have you been scammed by Angie's List, Home Advisor, contractors, customers? Let's expose this together. Support American telemarketers and contractors. Choose ethical companies to stop the scams. I'm Josh Zabak, and I'll see you on the next episode of Behind the Sale. I guess the crazy thing is my whole life I was taught a sales process. The more I learned about the sales process, the more I learned that sales was deeply intertwined in life. And it's kind of a philosophy of life. It's the basis of communication. I mean, if you can't sell somebody you don't like, you're probably not going to be able to get along with people that you don't know. To be a good salesperson, you have to be a chameleon, willing to change, willing to adapt. Doesn't matter if people are Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter the religion, doesn't matter the football team that they like. I've literally watched sales guys, not great ones, lose jobs because they put their personal preferences on their NFL team or their feelings forward. At the end of the day, salespeople have a solution-based mind state. Yes, you can think about problems all your life, but then you're just going to be stuck thinking about your problems all your life. On the flip side, you can think about everything you want to do in your life and never start the process and end up never doing anything. Stop thinking, start doing. Everybody says, how do I avoid the scams? How do I not get ripped off? Well, you have to do some research on your own. You have to vet companies out. Right now, did you know that if you go online and you search replacement windows, that most of those companies that you see pop up are not a local company, are from a lead generation company? These lead generation companies have the money. Whoever has the money controls the media, controls the marketing. The people with more money are always going to succeed. Is it right that a small local contractor has to pay thousands of dollars to get to one interested person in their area? Consumers just don't know any better, and you don't know until you know. And until somebody exposes this, until somebody talks about it, people will never realize. People will never realize when you start typing your name in some of these lead generation forms that as soon as you enter your name, your information is captured, and the privacy policy on that website dictates that they're allowed to do that to you. But nobody reads fine print. So then they get a call from a contractor saying, hey, you were looking at some replacement windows. And they're like, I didn't type anything in. What do you mean I looked at some replacement windows? But they're just in shock. They have no idea that they were being tracked. A long time ago, it was crazy to say, they're listening to us on our phones. Google's listening to us. And now it's just common fact. There's such an illusion that if you don't investigate, and I'm not saying you have to go on this investigative journalism route on everything. And people do need to start exposing this, because at this point, the one large company that I'm talking about that's almost worth $1 billion, in my opinion, has a lot of legal protection.
Allegedly.
So any of the FTC fines that they were fined or that they're going to be fined or that they're being investigated, and nobody knows. The FTC doesn't tell anybody. They don't have an obligation to the public to tell them their pending searches or searches as they're going on. So nobody really knows. So isn't it weird that one company that's made so much money over time has switched hands so many times? Isn't it weird that one of the main owners of the company owns media companies? Isn't that controlling a narrative? I know what I know, and one of the things that I don't know is true definitions of monopoly, not the game. When somebody has so much money that they dictate the marketplace, that they control the marketplace, that they control how marketing happens, isn't that a monopoly? And when the contractors and consumers are paying for it, why are the contractors and consumers not just linking directly together? They're allowing people to monopolize. So I guess it's not a monopoly. But then people wonder why things cost so much. There's a cost to market. And when other people are dictating the means of your marketing, they're dictating people's businesses. So then what's capitalism? Is capitalism not an illusion? Is capitalism real? I don't know. I'm not that smart. But I do know what's going on, and what's going on isn't right. And I've seen the evolution, and I've seen the death of telemarketing rooms. We had a very successful marketing room. We put time into our people. We put time into training. We believed in people. We believed in people. Most companies don't believe in people. They just want to turn and burn them. And if they screw up, they want to say, "Ha, gotcha, you messed up," which makes no sense. You want to cut your nose to spite your face. We used to bring people from the jail programs that were rehabilitating and stuff, and they used to come on their bus. And I remember this as a kid. I'm hanging out at 12 years old next to these people, and we're making phone calls, having fun. And they're making a living while doing it. It refines people's ability to communicate. Nobody wants to pay for anything. Nobody wants to do any research. You cost yourself more money in the long run, too. Doesn't make sense why somebody wouldn't put a little extra time into making sure they're dealing with the right person, into making sure you're not dealing with the lead generation. I'm just talking home improvement. That's my perspective. I don't know the other industries. I know that this exists in a lot of other industries, but I don't have the personal experience with that. Maybe if you have personal experience in another field that you have lead generation and that this is aggressive and a problem, reach out, hit me up. I'd love to talk to you. Contractors won't talk about it because they got too much time doing other stuff. And if they're making money, it doesn't matter. But the problem is they're making money because of the high pressure, or they're going to make enough money until they have issues. And then when they have issues, they don't have enough money in the bank because they haven't secured the funds they had. They weren't selling jobs for what they were trying to sell them for or knew they needed to be selling them for. I mean, imagine going into Walmart and negotiating prices. How would that work out? Now imagine if you had 10 Walmarts after you went into the store, walking in behind them saying, "Hey, I could do it for this. Hey, I could do it for this. Hey, I could do it for this." How sustainable would that business model be over time? It would make companies go bankrupt. But the consumers want the cheaper price for what? So they can have nobody to service their work in the future? So what? Home improvement companies fold out of business and then the states can't take care of the people when the company folds up because they're not even regulating things in the right places? I don't know the solution. I could tell you a bunch of solutions. That's actually not true. But I can't tell you it's the right solution. And until there's a discussion, we're never going to get to the right solution. How can you create a solution if you don't know there's a problem? And too many people right now are blind to the problem. If I affect one person right now, all I want them to do is, when you want to buy something, when you want to buy windows, make sure the company's website is the actual company that you're dealing with, actually has a location, that you can actually go to their facility, that it's real, that it's not some scam center just generating a lead to sell off to another contractor, because that will cost you more money. Or you'll save a bunch of money, but you'll have nobody to service it in the end. Don't make that decision.